we're trying to promote that there are different types of potatoes, not just brushed and washed, or red skin and white skin. There are so many different types with different attributes which can really enhance a meal.
This is The Producers. I'm Dani Valent. Louisa Dunn farms potatoes, beef and sheep in Blackwood, an hour north of Melbourne. A city girl from Brighton who married into a fifth-generation farming family, Louisa has learnt more about potatoes than she knew there was to know. There are more than 4,000 types of potatoes, and the Dunn family is proud to grow around 20 of them, both for chipping and sending to market. Louisa has become a keen advocate for regional farming communities such as hers. She's a huge rep for the Great Trentham Spudfest, which celebrates local potato farming families every autumn.
So my name's Louisa Dunn. I'm on Dunn's Family Farming. We're outside North Blackwood, or we're in North Blackwood, which is just outside Trentham, so near Wood End and Dalesford. We grow potatoes, which we sell for both markets, and also we sell potatoes which are used for a chipping company to make French fries. We also have beef and beef cattle, so we've got Angus and Charolais cows, and we've also got sheep. So across the board.
The Dunn family has been on this farm since the 1860s, initially supplying food to nearby miners looking for gold. How have things changed?
So the Dunn family started farming in this area in 1865, and we still have the original homestead. And the most amazing thing was seeing the original building permit, which says, it was quite interesting to see the building permit, which is pretty much the plans for the homestead, which was lovely, back in the 1800s. They've been growing vegetables and initially providing it to the miners that were located in Blackwood, and they would provide fresh vegetables and fruits and also meats as well. And we've just kept going. So I think we're up to fifth and sixth generation. So we've got two nieces that help out whenever they can, and they enjoy it. They've been on the potato harvester this week. And we have a 3-year-old who's attempting to round up cows at the moment, but we'll see how that goes. But it's lovely. It's lovely to be having a real sort of farm experience, even though we're only about an hour and 15 minutes away from Melbourne city centre.
The family has been there for generations, but Louisa only came to farming recently. Her appreciation was at first academic, then love found a way. So
my husband and I met through the most conventional way, online dating, some 14 years ago. I'm a city girl. I'm from Brighton, and had no idea about farming and really no idea about gardening, and worked at Melbourne University with the Faculty of Land. It used to be called Faculty of Land, Food and Environment, and Melbourne School of Land, Food and Environment. And the students were just amazing. I worked with a lot of the agricultural students, and they just had a bit of sass and pizzazz about them, and you just never knew what was going to happen. It was really lovely. And they encouraged me to go into a Master of Agribusiness with Peter McSweeney, who was the course coordinator. And it was really lovely to open my eyes and to just see that there is actually a part of There's jobs out in the agricultural industry for everyone, regardless if you're fifth generation farmer or a brand new person like myself. There definitely is a lot of different avenues to go into, and we're constantly looking for workers. So it can be from everything from having a summer job working in the shearing sheds and being a rouseabout through to, promoting new AI technologies, and things like being a drone operator, identifying weeds in the paddock and also looking at the health of the paddocks.
Farming is a steep learning curve. Louisa has found what she's good at and what she still has to learn.
Oh, well, I've learned I'm not a very good tractor driver. Does that help? First time I learned how to drive a tractor was with the potato harvester on the back. And you just need to be concentrating the whole time. And the funniest thing was my husband could tell when I wasn't paying attention because I didn't drive straight. I'd be off onto the next row of potatoes by mistake, and he'd be looking around going, oh, there's a kangaroo. The city girl has seen a kangaroo. Go back on the road, Louisa. And now I don't do it as much. I do still do it for when wedge-tailed eagles fly over. I do forget what I'm doing. But look, it's amazing to see. The soil health here is just so phenomenal. The other day we were digging just with hands in the soil, and it was lovely. It was, there was worms, there was slaters, there were little bugs crawling all through it. It just felt lovely in your hands, even though you're digging up potatoes. And yes, it's part of my job. It was also a lovely grounding experience, and you just don't get that when you're surrounded by concrete.
As well as the practicalities of being on the land, Louisa sees opportunities to communicate the realities of food and farming to people who are disconnected from primary production.
So the food system for me, I feel there's a real disconnect, especially with school kids. So initially I was a primary school teacher, and children were horrified to see me eating raw vegetables like a cucumber and tomatoes and carrots with dip. And they kept saying, oh, it has to be cooked. You can't. And I'm like, no, you can. These are things you can eat raw. And then also that disconnect of you're eating vegetables raw and at lunch. And, that was another thing. Where's your sandwich? Well, not everyone has sandwiches. There's amazing foods out there. You don't need to do that. But even now, it's that funny thing of, there's so silly jokes out there, or how do you get chocolate milk? Well, it's a brown cow, and yes, they're jokes, but there are little people out there who believe that. And the job of the farmer is to provide that link to say, well, actually, potatoes come out of the ground. They come in different sizes, different colours, different shapes, different varieties. And I did a talk a couple of years ago, and, just doing some research for that talk to a gardening group. And I said, there's over 4,000 varieties in the world. And, we grow 25. But can you even imagine? I can't even fathom what 4,000 varieties would look like. But, they're different colours and textures and little subtle flavours and big hit flavours, and the properties and how they cook, they're all so different. And I think the concept of having mashed potato to sort of slop up the gravy is the wrong way to look at the potato. The potato itself is actually a really fantastic vegetable, and it can be quite delicate in its flavours, and you can really enhance it by using, let's say, a bit of olive oil, and it plays off it, or you can use butter, and that brings out a different flavour again. And it's one of those childhood memories too. Growing up, I have a Danish mother, and she always gave us boiled potatoes. But in the 80s, they were very floury, and they sort of dried your mouth out. And now I say to my mum, I'll have this one, have a Dutch cream. And she's like, yeah, this is like a Danish potato when I was a child. And so that's also a lovely thing to be able to pass on to people too.
Louisa is very chipper about potatoes now, but it hasn't always been that way.
I think my mother overdid the potatoes, the floury potatoes in the 80s, and I sort of shied away from them. And I was sort of, there's always the talk about, well, potatoes are, they're fattening, or they're bad for you. No, the potato itself is not bad for you. It's when you put the sour cream and the cheese and the, everything else on it. If you're having the baked potato, or, you put tons of, duck fat to make them beautifully roasted. But being able to just go out into the veggie patch that I started when I first met my husband, and, get zucchini, carrots, parsnips and potatoes was just lovely. And it was also a bit of naive cooking in my experience, because I was like, right, I think I'm going to roast pink for apple. And everyone said to me, no, pink for apple's a salad potato. It's like a kifla. You make it into beautiful salads. Well, no, I found out it works amazingly as a roast potato, and, I really enjoyed that. And then I also liked freaking my friends out when they would come up to visit, and I would throw in some cranberry reds, and I would throw in a crimson pearl, which is magenta, and put them in the roast, and they would all be sitting there going, "What else have you got?" And it was like, "Oh, okay, so I can try that and push things a little bit further with my friends," and they seem to really enjoy it.
We get used to having potatoes year round, but they're a seasonal product. How does the year roll when you're a potato farmer?
So it starts for us in about October. We start to prepare the potato seed. So with the potato seed, you can either have certified seed, which are all a specific size, or you can use some of the leftover potatoes from the previous season, which is what we do for a couple of years. And preparing the seed means we just take all of the shoots off it. So we get all the shoots off, we start cutting them into appropriate potato size. So potato size for us, we would say, is about 4 to 6 centimetres in length. And so with some of them, like the kifler, they might only need to be cut once, whereas a Dutch cream might have to be cut 2 or 3 times. Once we've gone through prepping all of the potato seed, we have an agronomist come out and he assesses our soil. So he looks to see if our soil needs to have certain nutrients in it. We might be lacking something due to heavy rains and we're having a bit of a runoff effect, or it could be the fact we've had lots of cows and sheep over it and the manure level has really helped out in those paddocks. And then we might top up on specific chemicals if we need it. And then we start the planting of potatoes, and it takes about 12 to 16 weeks, depending on the variety. And we do it over the warmest period because a frost will actually kill the potato plant itself. Where we're located here in North Blackwood, it's a cooler summer. It's definitely not a nice hot summer like it is down in Melbourne or up north. And for us, the benefit means that we don't need to have as much water for it. We're just watering every second or third day, which is great. We use all natural rainwater from our dam and irrigate, as I said, every 2 to 3 days. And now we're at, it looks terrible at the moment if I were to walk you through the paddock. All the potato plants look dead. And that's what we want. We want all the tops of the potatoes completely dead. That means that the growing has finished. And having a storm or a rain or a frost actually helps harden up the skin. So if I dig by hand, like I did the other day, the potatoes themselves come out with a nice flaky skin. The skin is not hard. It hasn't set. I need a hard frost to do that. So they're still considered to be a new potato because the skin flakes off.
Potatoes are their own seeds. Louisa explains how to grow potatoes from potatoes.
No, and that's the most wonderful thing. We're about to hold Spudfest in the first weekend in May up here in Trentham. And Spudfest has been going for quite a few years. And it's so nice to talk to people and explain to them, actually, no, all of the potatoes we have, you can use all of our potatoes as seed. So any potatoes that haven't been sprayed or chemically tarnished in any way, they can be used as seed. So as soon as they start shooting and the shoots come on them, if the potato itself is still firm, knock the shoots off and you can still eat it. If the potato is a bit sort of rubbery and it's not as firm as it should be, that's a perfect potato to stick in the ground. Knock the shoots off it and put it in the ground and give it some water and watch it grow. And yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely being able to communicate that to everyone.
The Great Trentham Spudfest is on May 2 and 3 in 2026. It brings together local potato growers, artisans and food vendors to share goods, stories and a love of all things potatoes. Come for community spirit and a spudtacular time.
It was really lovely. It was started before I came on the scene, and the people who started it wanted, I guess, the wider community to know that Trentham and the surrounding areas has a big historical potato heritage, I guess is the way. So it starts with us at sort of Trentham, North Blackwood, and it goes all the way up to Ballarat. And initially there was also McCain's was not, It was located in Dalesford, not in Ballarat. And all of these things all help, focus the potato area where it is at the moment. The potatoes here, there's now three or four families that still do potatoes, and we get together and we provide as many different varieties and options for people to come and buy. And we also try to educate people. So a bit like how the apple industry has been so successful in communicating the different varieties of apples, and also tomato industry too. We're trying to promote that there are different types of potatoes, not just brushed and washed, or red skin and white skin. There are so many different types with different attributes which can really enhance a meal.
Potatoes ain't potatoes. What are some of the most surprising spuds Louisa has encountered?
I think the one thing I like surprising people is with the different coloured potatoes. These are not sweet potatoes. So when you see a purple Congo, it's not a pretty looking potato on the outside. It's a real sort of, it's an organic shape. It's dark purple, almost black. And when you snap the potato inside, and little kids love it because they sort of look at you like, this isn't a potato. It is absolutely the darkest purple you have ever seen. And one of the most amazing things is that potato is extremely dry. So it takes me back to the 80s of the dry potato in my mouth, and I can feel my mouth going, no, it needs something. It's the most amazing gnocchi potato. So you can come out with these dark purple gnocchi, and it's a bit of a mind twist for some people, but it's also amazing for those people who are adventurous with their food. So similar to having squid ink in pasta and in rice, you can use the purple Congo to make your pasta with a potato base. And also the fact that the crimson pearl is this magenta colour again. And also there's a sapphire that has this amazing purple with marbling through it, with a bit of a white flick through it. It's just lovely because I've got, as I said, a 3-year-old, and at the moment she doesn't want to eat anything that's white. And I'm like, well, two can play this game. I'm making you pink unicorn mashed potato, and it's going to be cranberry red. I know that it's going to work, and she'll eat it. It's still got the same flavour. There's no sort of terrible mind twist. It's just going to be pink. And because her being a little princess at the moment and wanting to believe in unicorns, rightio, it's unicorn mashed potato. And this is one of those things that when you've got a picky eater who's, starting out, we want to challenge them. We want to give them those options of, by the way, potatoes do come in other colours, and so do carrots, and so do apples, and so forth. And this is one of those things you can do. But also I think it's really lovely. People come and they say, I've always used, let's say a Kennebec potato. So a Kennebec is the most amazing chipping potato. But you know what? It's also an amazing masher. And it's just nice to be able to have some people who say, I only ever use Kennebec for mashed potato, because it means that they've tried it with something else. And then I have other people who say to me, I want to try Heston Blumenthal's idea of the most amazing chip. And he did this amazing chip with the Maris Piper, and it was 3 times cooked. I haven't got time for it. I'm glad he showed it and he advertised it. It's great to be able to say there's a Maris Piper. It's an old-fashioned potato from the UK. A lot of people do refer to Jamie Oliver and Heston Blumenthal with it, but it is also a robust potato that you can actually cook it more than one way at once. And it's also got an amazing flavour. It whips up beautifully into a mash as well. And I guess my personal favourite happens to be the Otway Red. So the Otway Red is this amazing deep burgundy red skin and the most beautiful flesh on the inside, and makes the most amazing jacket potato. And I think we've forgotten about the good old-fashioned jacket potato, and it doesn't need to always have cold slaw and sour cream and cheese. You can do it with, and I do it with some tuna. So I take the inside of the jacket potato out, mix it up with some tuna and a bit of creme fraiche, and put it back in and put some chives on it, and it's amazing. So it really, you can take it. It's just so versatile having all these different potatoes, and they're available. They are there.
Farming changes from day to day and month to month. What is a typical day for Louisa?
So I've got some of the most exciting parts. I'm on the back of the harvester. So we have what's called a grimy potato harvester. There's always one person who decides to be the tractor driver. That happens to be my brother-in-law. And I sit on the back. Well, I don't. I stand on the back and we go over the potatoes and remove rocks, debris. But the other thing that we have, which is a real problem for us, is cockatoos. So the cockatoos are really cheeky and they've figured out the green potatoes on top, they don't like them anymore. They've changed their taste buds. So they now dig down with their beak and their claws and they take a bite out of one potato and then go, oh, I found another one. And they take a bite out of the next one and you're like, oh, you rat bags, because it destroys the potato. I can't sell it for human consumption. The positive is I can sell it for sheep food or animal feed. So it's not wasted for us, but it is so frustrating because you'll see there'll be like a patch and they literally just decimate a little patch and there'll be 200 to 400 cockatoos at any time. And you're just like, yeah, you just shake your head. We're trying to teach the cattle dogs to chase cockatoos, but it's not working. They chase their tail and then they sit down and eat a potato. But yeah, so that's one of my jobs. I also help with the grading of the potatoes and we wash potatoes as well. And then I take them down to South Melbourne Market or which is at South Melbourne to Georgie's Harvest. And I also take them over to Spud Sisters and they do farmers markets around Victoria. And we go down they're located at Mordialloc. And so we take it down there as well. And then the rest of the time, I get to do things like rounding up cows and sheep and moving them from paddock to paddock and helping with feed out. And I've also, I'm a lamb catcher, so it means I need to catch the lambs to give them their first vaccination. So we go through about 1,000 to 1,200 lambs every year that we breed. So it's a nice job. It keeps me fit.
Farmers use all kinds of strategies to minimise pests and diseases and reduce the need for chemical inputs. How does it work?
So potatoes, for us, one of the parts that I think people get worried about is they hear about a lot of food wastage. And as I said before, we do have cockatoos and that does mean that our potatoes do get damaged. But because one of the things that a lot of farmers do to help minimise with pests and diseases is we do paddock rotation. So we have about 8 different paddocks and that's just for the potatoes. So what we can do is we won't put the potatoes in the same paddock every year. We will relocate them each year. And the benefit is that means we can minimise pests and diseases and help reduce any need for any chemical spraying or herbicides or pesticides. And I think that's really important to know that farmers are actually hearing what the public is saying about reducing the chemical footprint on food. And we are doing that. And the subsequent benefit is that the sheep and cows can then use the potatoes as a supplement feed during the cooler months. So we will actually get all of our potatoes out by June, July, and then anything that is left over, we put our sheep through and they clean out the paddocks for us. And then we're able to use it to plant rape, which is a canola product. It's from the brassica family, similar to cauliflower, broccoli and cabbages. And we use that then to fatten up our sheep or our lambs during the summer months. So we're able to luckily get 2 uses out of the same paddock during the 12-month period, which I think is a great, smart way to do farming for us. And one sort of bounces off the other. So it means we also don't need to then add extra chemicals into the ground for the second crop, which is good for us too. And I think the other thing is that with potatoes, if you're growing them at home, just remember, don't pull the potatoes out of the ground when the shoot, the top of the plant of the potato itself is green. So that actually means that the potatoes are still growing. When the potato has completely died off and looks like straw, it just sort of crumbles up. The stalk crumbles up in your hand and it's quite crunchy. Also quite similar to sugarcane. That's the time when you can go digging. And if you do get frosts or harsh weather, that will also benefit in hardening the skin so that it's a weathered skin, so it's easier for you to store. It won't go off as easily as a new potato. One of the other things which is I only just realised, or not in the last 14 years, a chap potato just means a small size potato. So chap potatoes are actually, I can pull up, let's say, a Dutch cream, and I'll have maybe 12 Dutch cream that are big, lovely, luscious, 10 centimetre size, 8 centimetre size, and I might get 2 or 3 which I would consider to be chats. Now, a chat, just as I said, it's a small potato that decided that was how big it was going to grow and not much bigger. And by using the chat potatoes, it means that we're able to still use a product that there is absolutely nothing wrong with. And in fact, sometimes they're actually more attractive, especially if you're looking at a dinner party or something like that. A chat potato certainly looks smart on the dinner plate, and the flavours are still there. It's a fully developed potato. It just didn't want to grow any bigger.
Multi-generational farms can have their challenges. Louisa's academic background and use of technology gives her interesting insights into what happens on the farm. She's noticed that science and intuition sometimes lead to the same conclusions.
Farmers are definitely growing and adapting with each generation. So my husband's family, we are a multi-generational farm. So my father-in-law is still very much involved in the farm. My husband and his brother are very much the next succession plan ready to go through. And there are different ideas. So part of my agribusiness degree was looking at innovation and how we can adapt and change and make things better, whether it be minimising carbon footprint or minimising chemical exposure. And one of the things I've noticed is that in some cases, the farmers are doing it because it's actually been tried and tested through history. They just didn't know to name it as such. So one of the benefits at the moment is using the drone technology. So we can use the drone technology and fly over the 25 different potato varieties. You can see the difference in the potato varieties because the foliage of the potatoes is slightly different. And also the flower colours are very different. And you can also see, like the Dutch cream, as I said, it takes about 16 weeks to complete its growth cycle. So it is still quite green at the moment. So when I fly the drone over, I can see where the Dutch cream are, and I can also see where the Blackwood Gold are, because they also are a potato with a longer gestation period, I guess, or growth period. But also that drone technology can also be used to identify areas in the paddock where there are excessive weed or excessive water, or it's a pooling area where water gets bogged and logged in. And you can also it's really lovely to see, especially in the springtime, you can see the animal track marks in the paddock. So is it they're doing these track marks because that's the quickest way to get to the water? Or is there something in the end of that paddock that makes them very thirsty and I need to investigate? Maybe there's a bit of salinity in the soil, or maybe there's some sort of weed growing and they don't like it and they eat it, and then they need to all go back to the troughs for water. So being able to see the markings of where all the cows and the sheep go walking through the paddocks, that's also been a great benefit using this new technology. And also the larger drones are able to go out and do specific spot location for spraying of chemicals, for whether it be herbicide or pesticides. So if we're looking outside our potato paddock, we might use a drone technology versus spraying the whole paddock. So again, we can target spray just one area. And that's a really great way to minimise pests and diseases too. But I guess the thing we all worry about is food integrity and also security. And just recently, with what has happened overseas with fuel prices and also fertilizer, it does have an impact. The impact isn't actually now. The impact is going to be on the customer, the consumer in, 6 to 12 to 18 months when the next crop may not be able to be grown because of the costs. So one of the things we're looking at now is we've already had almost a doubling in fertilizer pricing from 3 years ago to now. And now we've got to probably pay again another increase. And these are increases, and it's really difficult because we want to keep the potato at a cost-effective level that supports Australian, consumers. And we're trying to do that. And so we just try and work around it, but we do understand that it is very difficult. But we also want people to buy Australian. So we're trying to keep being as competitive as we can.
There are lots of contemporary theories about farming, many of them looking at ways to minimise the use of chemical fertiliser and pesticides while maximising production.
With the regenerative farming and also mindful farming, I think is another way to look at it. By being mindful in what you put in the ground and being mindful of how you do it, there are other alternatives just to chemical fertilisers, and you can do things like by planting crops. We can use nitrogen-rich or nitrogen-holding crops into the grounds, and we can use different types of fertilisers. So the fertilisers can be everything from a seaweed fertiliser through to using the slurry from, well, it's not the nicest word, but that's what I would call it, the slurry from the dairy industry. So using the urea and the fecal matter from dairy industries and having that on your paddocks as well. There's a lot of ways that you can reduce the cost overheads for input, but also while maximising your production level. So when we find that some of our potato seed is no longer producing the quality or producing the size or producing the numbers that we are looking for us, that's an indicator we need to go back and get certified seed. So certified seed starts off as a mini tuber, and a mini tuber is just a little plant. It then gets cultivated up, and we go through different generations, and then when it becomes certified seed, that's usually fourth, fifth generation of that plant's DNA. And by doing that, we then get a couple more years out of our seed. Seed for us usually lasts 4 to 5 years, and then we need to go back and get certified seed. And by doing that also, we're making sure that we are not planting contaminated seed or seed that has disease already in it. It was really upsetting to hear that mop head virus has come into the potato industry. But the thing is, the potato industry is so closely linked to so many other different industries. And so you just have to be mindful. One of the other things people don't quite understand. They keep saying to me, I'll just come and pick potatoes from your from your back paddock. I can't get you to do that because we're doing things called biosecurity. So the biosecurity for us is minimising any external risks, diseases coming in on people's cars or people's shoes. So if you have been on a paddock in somebody else's area, you might have stepped in some cow manure. That's not a problem. But you might have also stepped in some seeds. And then you might be introducing a seed of a weed that we don't have on our property. So one of the things I always ask people is, if you can come to the house, I'm happy to take people out into the paddock, but I want you to do so in my car, because my car, I know where it's been. I know what it's been in touch with, and I try and make sure that I don't use my car in other people's paddocks. So we're trying to follow all of the guidelines for biosecurity, and this is part of the reason why farmers do get upset when they see people who turn up in their paddocks in their own vehicles, because it's something that you may not be 100% mindful of, but we just want to be careful and not introducing any type of diseases back into a farm that doesn't have it. The other thing for us with looking at mindful farming is using things that we have in place. So many of the farmers will have used shelter belts for not only their animals, but also to protect their crops. So shelter belts have been one of the great things. I know that some people feel that farmers aren't providing shelter in the middle of the paddocks, whether that be for animals, but that's because we're providing it along the fence lines to help with shelter belt sort of areas. And for us, we certainly have a shelter belt around the potatoes, and we find that when we've had those strong winds, the potato crop itself has been protected because of that. And so that's also a lovely thing. The other day we had almost an inch of rain, and that shelter belt had a big impact on minimising the damage to the last bit of the Dutch cream growing. It wasn't thrown around with the wind, and it wasn't battered down by the rain that came in quite ferociously. But everything is changing. Climates are changing, the environment is changing, how people are using the environment is changing. And I don't think you can blame one specific person or one group of people for what has been happening with the evolution of our land. I think we all have to take ownership of how we leave our own footprints on the land, and just be mindful that we've got next and next and next and next generations, and they're going to be wanting to do farming as well, because food security is so important. And by thinking about how we can leave the farm as a better place for the next generation, which is what we're doing, we're thinking about, okay, if we put in laneway systems, well, then we can minimise animals and livestock on the road. If we make a shed face this way, we don't get the strong winds. We can minimise cold winds. We can use it as a protection area. We can reduce flooding in the shed. We can make it watertight and so forth.
With so much variety, endless jobs to tick off, and a 3-year-old to engage, what is it that Louisa loves most about being a farmer?
The best thing about being a farmer is just the connection to the environment around us. The other, maybe 3 years ago, I had the most amazing experience. We had something unheard of. We had 11 sets of twins in the cattle, which is unheard of on the farm so far. It has never been recorded. It was just the most amazing thing to see cow after cow having another set of twins. And it was just really amazing to see the father-in-law just sitting there looking back and thinking how amazing that was. And then we've tried to replicate it with food and water and feed and paddocks, and it hasn't worked. So there are some things in the world that is still out of human control, which is, I think, something that is amazing, that we have to realise we're not actually in control of everything. We are not in control of the weather. And when the rain comes, typical farmers, we complain when the rain comes and we complain when the rain doesn't come. But also seeing the rain come the other day, I was just in awe thinking, well, that 1 inch of rain that we had, that filled up the dam. That's made sure my water tank is full. That means I can wash the potatoes that I'm going to deliver this season. But also the fact that from that water and the rain, I can hear frogs, I can see owls, I can hear bats, I can see the hawks and the eagles flying ahead. I can see the kangaroos, which we all complain about, and the wombats, which dig right where you don't want them to. They do it out of sheer annoyance, I think, sometimes for farmers. But there is the most amazing environment around. You just need to take the time to look. And with Eleonora, my daughter, her face seeing all of these things. We had the most amazing echidna walking through the paddocks, and it's absolutely hysterical to watch all the cows and how they respond to it. They get very curious, but they're also very scared of, this little echidna, which is quite entertaining. But also, Eleonora knows that her food comes out of the ground, and she knows that a bit of dirt doesn't really hurt you. And she really enjoys getting her hands dirty, and she really enjoys digging up those potatoes or going in the veggie patch with her grandfather and digging things up there. But she's also been able to be right at the front where we've been delivering lambs and we've had to assist. And it's lovely to see as a 3-year-old, she's not scared of it. It's not anything to be scared of. It's something that she's taken in her stride. And she's also taken into her stride the death. So when a lamb doesn't make it, or when we've had to dispatch of a rooster because it charged Eleonora and it wasn't the best rooster for our farm, we dispatched of him. And she was very matter of fact. And it was lovely that, she understands that not every animal gets to be around forever, and some of them do die. And her concept was just really realistic and nuts and bones. It was lovely. She just reminded me to be a bit more, kind to myself and kind to the animal, and say, oh, well, it had a good life and we did treat it well, and it's okay because it's going to help feed the next animal. And so it's just lovely having that in a 3-year-old. You can't ask for much more. But the one thing I would love is to be able to get the dirt stains out of clothes, because we've got this amazing soil and it just stains all of our clothes. But do you know what? It just means that I know my daughter has been out there and she's had her hands dirty, and it's wonderful. So I can't think of anything better, and I'm really grateful that I got to meet my husband and move up to this lovely area.
From city girl to passionate potato farmer and country mum, Louisa Dunn is leading a life full of surprises. Though potatoes weren't her favourite veg as a kid, she's now a Spud advocate who can tell you which potato works best for what dish. More than that, she's keen to share the benefits of country life and a closer connection to where food comes from and how it gets to our shopping baskets. This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Dani Valent. Stay tuned as we talk to some of Australia's best farmers, makers and growers. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast, or contact us via deepintheweeds.com.au.